Bellingham's an anomaly here, but I think it'll be an interesting result. I think a lot of the communities that choose to work with this choose to take the opportunities that such a project presents and try and maximize those to the benefit of their residents. I think we'll end up coming out much ahead than Bellingham will.
Okay, the first question is directed towards the free market conservative panel, and this was written by a Western Washington University College Republicans member. How confident are you that coal, and of course the other products that they'll be carrying on those trains, is a growth industry compared to, for example, natural gas, biofuel, wind, and solar? In other words, how could we expect the jobs from the coal terminal to last?
I think it's possible to say. I mean, we have the problem, the concern of the environmentalists and like me, who I think, like I said, I think climate change is a concern. Coal is the most carbon intense form of energy that we have. The concern, the reason it's a concern is because we got a ton of it. We got more than a century worth of coal. Coal is not going away. But, you know, the market is different, and I think that we ought to price in the impact that it has on the environment, and that may make coal less valuable, and other technologies that are less carbon intensive may surpass coal in the future. And so the advantage that it enjoys today in terms of abundance and price and things like that may go away in the future. Guess what? That's the way it has always worked. As we become more efficient, we do more with less because of those market pressures. And that's why I think that if you're smart, you'll make it a bulk commodity terminal as opposed to a coal terminal, so that you have that sort of flexibility. Putting all your eggs in one basket is never smart.
I'll just add on to that. Growing up in Montana, I have friends that grew up outside of Great Falls, Miles City, the Billings area. There are a lot of grain growers in Montana who Burlington Northern just simply does not have the capacity at the Longview terminal to get the grains out of those markets. They come through Montana, they're full, there is no more. There are a lot of people in Montana praying that this bulk commodity terminal opens up, because that opens up then another possibility for them to grab a train, get their products to someplace that can get it on a ship and start moving it around the world. And that is a big deal to them. There was something else I was going to mention there, but it's escaped my mind.
Yeah. If it were in fact going to be a bulk commodities terminal, that would be a good thing. But the reports I've seen are very sketchy about the actuality of products other than coal coming through it. The other point I want to make, and this relates to the claim that we actually have free markets. I would say there are no such things as free markets. And coal is an excellent example of that, because the coal that's being mined in Wyoming and Montana is obtained by the coal companies at hugely subsidized prices. Not subsidized, but reduced prices under the Federal Mining Act. So they're getting, in effect, a subsidy that way. And they're subsidized in another way because the whole chain of coal distribution and burning is subsidized, because nobody in that whole chain pays for the environmental costs that will result from burning the coal. So there isn't a free market. There's a subsidized market, a privileged market.
One last part to that is what Stoney's talking about is externalization. What every corporation, what every business, what every family tends to want to do, which is to push off the costs onto somebody else. It's done all the time. externalization you can extend to this overpass in Ferndale. Who's gonna pay the price for that overpass? Is it BNSF? Chances are they'll pay 10% of it, and citizens are forced to pay for that corporation's gain. It's another form of externalization that's classic in the railroad industry.
If you guys want to do a rebuttal, you can, just keep it quick. That's all.
Well, I want to jump in a little bit here. I want to talk about coal subsidies. Working in the AG's office, I have the Department of Commerce essentially as my client, and I can tell you that coal is not cheap to mine. There is not a lot of subsidies or government money that comes back in, because in Montana, we have what we call the Coal Trust Fund. And what it was a huge amount of money that Peabody, and at the time there was a consortium of Montana Power and some others that paid very, very, very large sums of money into a trust fund in the state that ensured that the state would be able to reclaim the strip mines. Now, strip mine is a very small word for an operation that is absolutely massive. We're talking about a gash in the earth that's about 1.5 miles wide and dang near 600-700 feet